Bonjour, everybody. Hi. Good morning. This is Neshi Lilkatz. Welcome to Star Nation's organization's main fan page. Today is Thursday, June 21st. Happy solstice, both in the northern and southern hemisphere. The first day of summer or the first day of winter, right? Today is just listening to my husband, Paul, leave. He's got the ATV. Excuse me. Today is Thursday, right? June 21st, and today is the live stream for the card draw for the day. We do this every morning. Well, we try to anyway, at 10 a.m. Central and 11 Eastern. I say almost every day because, like yesterday, I completely forgot about my dentist appointment, which I had made like 6 months ago, and it was at 10:10, and I thought, can't do a live stream at that time from the dentist chair. It was just a cleaning, but still, I don't think it would have been very enjoyable for you guys to watch. And so we just did it later in the day. So welcome. I am broadcasting from Star Nation's Academy, and the Academy is about a block up from my house, and I like it up here. It's always so quiet, usually. My husband is a Gemini who was actually born on May 21st, so he's on the cusp, right? But he's a Gemini, and Geminis are an air sign, and very, very much very talkative, usually very talkative, and he's the kind of guy that needs to have a lot of stuff going on. The television could be on. He could go walk outside into the garage and turn on the radio out there. He could go downstairs into the basement office space, and on the TV or a radio will be playing there. And usually I'm following behind him to turn off all this electronics and all the noise. No different this morning. I walked in here. He was so helpful to get the space back into a recording studio from what we were using it last night as a drum circle and a healing circle. And I walked in and the TV was on, and he was watching the soccer while he was moving furniture for me. So anyway, welcome. And I do like it up here. We were up here last night. I had a private group here. One of my previous students and clients from Milwaukee, she is a health practitioner. She's a teacher, and she is working with a group of people who provide training to the Veterans hospitals, the VA hospitals, and so she's on a team that's made up of technicians, doctors, nurses. And so they go around the country literally helping with training. And so they were here in Toma doing a training at our VA, and they contacted me. I was with them last year too. And so we had supper together, and then we came up here and we drummed. It was so much fun. It really was. And a couple of the ladies, they had some healing issues, and so I helped them with those. And we had a lot of first-time drummers and a few long-time drummers, and so bringing those two groups of people together was magic. It really was. We had one round of drumming that was dedicated to family, and specifically our ancestors and our current family, whether it is our blood family or our soul family, right? And so this dedication came from a first-time drummer. And so, he was learning how to lead the drum circle. And I tell you what, that particular round was, wow, it really was. So I had a good time last night. It was good stuff. Good morning, Elise, and good morning, Mary Ann. I know you're there too, watching. And Rochelle, hi. The topic is going to be the talking stick. Rochelle is asking that. And Nicole is here, and Mary S is here. Thank you, ladies, for being with me this morning. We'll get to the card drawing. It's been raining here, raining. I think we're on our third or fourth day. And as I was getting ready to come up here, you could hear the thunder rolling. You know how that goes when it's really high up in the clouds? Yeah, I heard that this morning. So we got the talking stick this morning. Now, we've had this card before, earlier in May, and we talked about this, about that everyone's point of view is sacred, and not just our two-leggeds, but everybody's. All of our relatives, their point of view is sacred. And we've talked about listening, really listening, and using all of your senses to listen, and really being with the person who is speaking, and not racing ahead in your mind to answer questions or to even come up with a solution or resolution, right? And here in the States, here in the Western culture, we're actually trained. We're trained in school to be to answer questions, to interrupt, to get the solution out. And the quicker you can do it, the better, right? But when you're actually listening to somebody, sometimes it takes some people a little while to be able to express themselves. Some people don't speak as fast as we do in the Midwest or on the East Coast. And so sometimes it is a practice in patience and not trying to finish the sentence for them, so they can get on to the next one. Yeah. So really listening. And when I mean that, it's you're listening to their words and the meaning behind the words, of course, but there's more to it than that. There is their body language, the tone in their voice, their eyes. It's when you're an attentive listener, you're listening to all of it with all of your senses. We may not even recognize that we're doing that, because a lot of it is subconscious. And so the talking stick was used by our ancestors. And each society, each group, if you will, had their own talking stick. And it was meant to be used when you had a crowd of people, so that everyone's voice was heard. Those who wanted to speak had the opportunity to speak and to have people listen, rather than usually when you have a group of people and there's a conversation going on or discussion, many times there's certain personalities who will dominate the conversation. And I don't know if it's always conscious or not, but they may not realize that how long they've talked, or that other people have something they also want to say, And so the talking stick actually provides a method or a way to be able to know that you're going to have an opportunity to share your thoughts, your mind, your heart with the group. Because a facilitator or the leader of the group keeps going until everyone has had the opportunity that they want to take to speak. And so it could be a long gathering. It could be a long meeting, especially if there's a lot of people. But everybody has the opportunity. That doesn't happen a lot in Western culture. I'm just thinking about, especially in academia, I don't know how many people have the experience of being in one of those large lecture halls. And that's why they call it that, is because there's only one real person talking, and that's the instructor or the professor. There isn't a discussion at all. But if you have a question, you have to raise your hand, even if you're an adult, so that you can be seen. Over here. have something to say. And so the talking stick. The talking stick is a tool that is very spiritual because how they're constructed, how they're made, the choice of tree for the branch that you're going to be using makes a difference because like with any other sacred tool that you use, the creator energy flows through you, through your arm, down your arm, through the stick, through all the things that you might have on the stick. Everything from the stick itself, the tree, the medicine of the tree. If you have feathers or shells or some sort of decoration on it, the energy goes through those as well. So there's a layering of energy. There's the creator, you, and the medicine of the stick, and all those pieces that are on the stick. And so when we're listeners, when we're listening, we are attentive to that person as a whole energy. Not just their personal energy, but we're also being respectful to the creator's energy and the energy of the stick, the spirit of the stick, and everything that's on the stick. Does that make sense? I know that we don't consciously break it down that way, but there's a part of us that recognizes it, and if we allow, encourage our mental mind to be open to it all, to use all of our senses when we're listening, right? Hey, Stephanie's here too. Good morning, Stephanie. So here is the card that we got this morning. It's a talking stick, and it's about viewpoints and options. Because when we are listening holistically, when we're listening, we may hear something from a perspective about a topic that we thought we knew a lot about. But we may hear a perspective that is new to us, or it's something that we've heard before, but it comes to us from a different direction. And we have the opportunity, as long as we have an open mind and an open heart, to take in the information that we are adding to what we know about the subject, right? Sometimes it actually changes how you're thinking or feeling about something, because you hear it and feel it from a different perspective than you were capable of seeing at the time. I think that's a miracle. I do. And you can always see it too. When you're in a conversation, whether it's in a group with a talking stick or even if it's just one-on-one, and you're sharing about something, and sometimes it can be a challenging topic. It can be a topic that might be, even as a friend of mine calls it, prickly. And as long as we stay respectful and listening to what the other person is saying, that we may hear something that we didn't realize occurred or that was seen from that perspective. It's like, oh, I didn't realize that happened. Why? Because you might have been standing on the other side of the room and didn't hear or see something that was happening from that other direction. And so it's really about being able to really listen to the other person. Now, there is something that occurs, and because we're human, right? That when it is a challenging topic, when it is a prickly topic, we have emotions, and sometimes those emotions boil up and over, and that person you're trying to listen to is actually yelling at you rather than discussing something. And so, our personalities, our ego, jumps to the forefront, because that's the position that we come from when we're determined to be right. And maybe we are. in a certain perspective, but we can't be, if you're looking at it 360 degrees, your rightness percentage diminishes, because you can't be absolutely correct in every single direction 360 degrees, because we're human. Stephanie says it sounds like a co-parent counseling. Sorta. Sorta. So those prickly conversations, they can, and even if they are in a large group, because that can happen too. You get two opposing sides at this gathering, and nobody's listening to each other anymore, and the facilitator has lost the decorum, and is like, you're trying to get it back. In Native culture, because this happens sometimes at general councils. General council is when all of the tribal membership comes together, and it's usually 4 times a year, quarterly. Sometimes every 6 months, depending on the tribe. And you're talking about stuff that is affecting the whole nation, right? And yeah, sometimes they can get kind of loud. And on occasion, the chairperson, who is the president of the nation, will actually call to the Bear Clan to come and to settle the crowd down. And the Bear Clan, especially in the Ho-Chunk culture, it's their responsibility as that clan to bring peace. They're the peacemakers. And so many times what they'll do is the Bear Clan members, they will stand up and they will stand between the opposing groups. Okay, and usually they have designated people who are the speakers, and they'll try to calm the crowd down, and sometimes they will escort people out. I don't know what happens on the outside. I'm sure they probably have some sort of conversation out there too, but that's the Bear Clan. And I sometimes wonder what that would be like if we had that in all of our gatherings, Native and non-Native. When you have a disagreement in a group, to have the designated Bear Clan kind of people, and to calm things down. Yeah. I think it's harder when it's more of a challenge when it's a one-on-one situation, and you're having those challenging, prickly discussions. I think it can be done. It's just it takes more patience. I think it takes more help from our spiritual teams. I think, because you want to make sure that you're both heard, but that's a conversation, right? That's a conversation. So in a real conversation, you have someone who's speaking, someone who's listening, and then the roles reverse. The speaker becomes the listener, and the listener becomes the speaker. And to be able to do that without interrupting, right? And I find personally, I find that when I'm in a conversation with somebody who is not familiar with the talking stick, or not familiar with listening holistically, maybe they know about it, but they haven't really used that. They're not comfortable with it. Those are harder conversations, because the other person may think that you're quiet because you disagree with them, or you're quiet because you're not paying attention to them. And that makes them even more angry sometimes. um, and then, when sometimes you think that you're going to get the chance to talk, and you start to talk so that they'll be the listener now, and they interrupt you, they cut you off. And he's like, well, wait a minute, I thought we were, wait. So, we're not even on the same page of how the conversation is. But it is possible to work through it. It is. I've done it. I've done it with good friends. I've done it with people who I didn't really get along with, and now we get along to the point where we can actually, when we say, hey, how you doing, we actually mean it. And it's just not a platitude, that we actually mean it. So the talking stick, the essence of the talking stick, which is really meant for larger groups, I think that we can use the essence of what the talking stick is about in all our conversations, not just in large groups, not just in certain conversations, right? So, hey, Madonna, I'm so glad you're here. Ooh, I saw a large bear in a meditation yesterday. Really? Wow. Yeah, bear medicine. Protectors, too. A lot of times they're part of the police force, Yeah. Hey, and Jill's here, too. Hey, Jill. Good to see you in the chat room. We're talking about the talking stick. We're talking about the talking stick. This is the card that was drawn this morning. And we've had this card before. And when I was tuning into my spiritual team, because we've had the card before, I wanted to know what was it about the card that was important, given the information that Jamie Sam gives us about the card, and how does that look for today, and the energy for today. And that was what came up for me, was is that this isn't just meant for large groups. This is actually meant for all conversations, the essence of it. And so we get a chance to notice how the energy of the talking stick unfolds for us today. Are we able to employ the essence of the talking stick, even if it's with somebody that may not understand or know about the protocol of a talking stick? The essence behind it is what we're tapping into, what we're seeing. And so how is that going to look for you today? How is that energy going to unfold for you today? Are you going to be a witness to it and see how a conversation is flowing, and watching and sensing, where the talking stick essence could have been employed, but you're not a part of the conversation? Or you get the opportunity to be a part of the conversation, and you get a chance to utilize the information in a way that maybe changes the way you have a conversation with someone. Yeah. All I know is that when I'm speaking with somebody and it's about a topic or something that isn't an easy one to get through, and they may not know or understand the essence of the talking stick, and it's hard to get a word in edgewise kind of conversation. I think you guys know what I mean about that. We've all experienced it, right? Is that when I do have a chance to be able to say it, I say, well, this is a conversation. That means that you get a chance to talk and I listen, and I get a chance to talk and you listen without interruption. And yeah, some people get it, they you can see it in their eyes. It's like, oh, okay. And there's other people who it might take you some patience. But, planting seeds are planting seeds, right? Yeah. Jill says, thanks for helping me catch up. You're welcome. You're absolutely welcome. So, the way we converse and the way we relate to other people in that conversation, I think that's what the essence is today. And when we use the essence of the talking stick in that we understand how energy flows, how spirit moves through all of our conversations, even this one, because, I call in my entire spiritual team, to be here with me and to help me express what needs to be expressed for the highest good. And so we're all involved in the conversation, not just a couple. I want to see what Jamie Sams, what we can share about the card application. She says that the talking stick is a tool that teaches us, each of us, to honor the sacred point of every living creature. If we listen to the wisdom and teachings of others, we can broaden our understanding and relate in a new manner to others. So, when we have the opportunity to respect the other point of view and see it as a sacred point of view, even though we might disagree with it, and isn't that a challenge? I would say that might be where our soul growth is, right? Is to be able to see something in a sacred way that may in the surface not seem sacred. They still have a point of view. Yikes. Yikes. That's where our soul growth is, right? Okay, so she says the application of the card reminds us of the validity of other points of view and teaches us to listen and to apply what we hear. We're reminded not to interrupt others who are imparting wisdom. We are taught through listening that life has millions of options and answers to any dilemma. We also should probably look at it from a point of view that we're not allowing ourselves any options in our present situation, or that we may have become stuck on an idea to see any further. And that is kind of like the forest in the tree thing, right? We're working with a project or with something so much that after a while we can't see the nuances, we can't see the changes, where there's a typo, where something. I'm thinking about the magazine. That's why I have so many other people look at it. Even then, we might have 8 different eyes looking at it, and something still, a typo gets through, or the placement of something isn't quite right. And so that forest in the tree thing is real. It's a real thing. And so she's saying, open up and listen to the opportunities that are coming your way. You're being given an opportunity to grow through an alternative route. Listen to another point of view. See, options you might not even know existed until you actually listen to someone else, right? And Paul and I do that all the time. I explained the other day that we had a good friend of mine, Tammy Gullen, is a practitioner in. Oh, sure. I was just going to say that, the name of it, and it went boom, gone. Shoot, I lost it. Anyway, she taught us that in our makeup and how we bring in energy, information. And Paul has what's called an open gate, an open ajna, and he can see so many different ways to do something. Because it's open, whereas mine is defined. I can come in and say, there it is. That's it. And keep going, and he sometimes, if he's not, when he's on his own, he could see how to do something 100 different ways, and he gets stuck because there's too many to choose from. And so when we're working at, we've learned this because Tammy helped us with that conversation, right? How to listen to each other, not just in our words, but also in the energy. And so when there's a project, when we come together, he sees stuff that I don't see. I don't even know it's there. And he'll say, well, we could do it this way, we could do it that way, and he shows me different things or talks about it. And when I hear it, I can say, oh yeah, we can do that one or we can do that one, because they're kind of the same, right? And so I help him to kind of narrow down the options. Yeah. And me, I have an open gate on my throat chakra, which means that I have a multitude of ways to be able to express something. And sometimes because there's so many options that I have to take some time to kind of be with it for a while and say, okay, this is the better choice, I think. And that's why you sleep on it. Gives me a chance to kind of bring in the information and also consult with my spiritual team, right? And I also I'll type something up and I'll read it through and it sounds good to me. And then I show it to Paul and I say, does this have any kind of tone that I don't want in there? Because I'll tell him what I'm going for. And he said, I don't know. There's that one sentence that just doesn't feel good. And so I'll take another look at it. So helping me to kind of focus in. And because there's lots of different ways to be able to say it. Yeah. So, good friends, right? Hey, Nicole Warner, you're so glad you're here. I know you're such a busy lady too. Every time I see you in the chat room, it makes me smile because I know you're taking time out to be. And she said, but what if the sound of the person's voice makes me physically ill? Yeah. You mean 45. Yeah. I know of which you speak. How would you like to live in a house with a 99-year-old who likes to watch and listen to MSNBC and CNN, and I have to have the monitor on so I can hear her if she needs me or if she falls, right? And I get to hear that voice. I kind of tune it out. I light incense, a cedar incense. I can't burn the cedar like I used to. The cedar leaves when they're dry, because the smoke kind of bugs Mom's lungs now. But she can tolerate the incense, and so yep, got to smudge that out. Got to smudge it out. I know what you speak of. There, Nicole, there was a time in my life, believe it or not, that because I'm a triple fire, right? That sometimes I have to literally sit on my hands. I have bitten the inside of my mouth. Trying not to interrupt somebody or say something that was going to be rather hurtful, right? And there were times when some complete strangers sometimes, just irritation, and then we have to look at why is the irritating me? Why? What is that? But anyway, I remember being in this training. We were weather spotters, and we were going through some training in Shawano County. And I used to work for that county, right? And so I knew a lot of people in that room. Paul's with me, and there's this lady that was sitting in front of me, and she could not sit still, and she could not stop interrupting and talking. And I know it was at the end of the day, and I know that I was probably fatigued from the day. I used to work in child support. And I literally had to sit on my hands so I wouldn't smack her in the back of the head. Now, isn't that bad? Here I am. I know better, but it's like, sit on my hands. So what I'm trying to say is that even though they irritate the heck out of us, there's a better way. There's a better way to deal with it and to handle it. I did not touch the woman. I didn't say anything to her. I did later talk to Paul about it and say, well, did you notice that lady that was in front of me? He goes, what lady? he didn't even see her. And so I thought, okay, what was it about her that just drove me up a wall? And it was the constant talking and the constant movement. And I realized that, she doesn't understand about the give and take about a conversation and not interrupting somebody. And I was a part of my career where I would do that. I would interrupt because when you're listening to a non-custodial parent telling you all the reasons why they couldn't make a payment, and you can tell they're lying to you, it's like, wait, stop. Stop, and so I realized that it was a behavior that was being shown to me. Yeah. I also know that when I'm not a good person to sit still for a long period of time either. And so I've learned that. So I'm not that person sitting in front of somebody, moving around a lot and changing my position a lot in the chair. I will sit near the back. Or not exactly in the back sometimes. So I'm not that person in front of somebody moving around a bunch, Does that explain anything for 45? No. It's a hard one, especially in light of, what was done to children and to families. And yet I'm reminded that kind of behavior on a grand scale, on a grand scale, still boils down to his inner child and what he might have gone through as a child for him to turn out this way. And so, oh my gosh, and talk about a challenge is sending good energy to the inner child, to that inner child. And then also saying prayers. We talked about this the other morning, saying prayers and for those children, but and I was saying to send the highest vibrational angels, protectors, to those children, highest vibration, the brightest of the bright lights to go in and to protect those children, no matter where they are. Yeah, because we're dealing with a lot of dark. We really aren't. It's really showing us that's Heyoka medicine like you wouldn't believe. It's complete opposite than where we want to go. Jill, you just reached sainthood. I did not. I did not. Because it's a challenge. It's a challenge. Because hate is not gonna make the situation better. It's going to make it worse. And it'll bring out even the worst in people. And we've already seen that. We've seen that. I don't know. Hey, Nicole, wasn't there a rally? I think there was a rally in Minnesota yesterday, wasn't there? For Trump, and because Aaron and Anna were there. I was kind of worried about them. I said a prayer for them. Keep them safe. Those are my nieces, and they in opposition, they went to go stand. They went to go stand for the people, for the children. And there's a picture that Aaron sent me. There's this middle-aged guy. I don't know if he was really just trying to get his point across or if he was really yelling at her. I don't know. But it looked like a very intense moment there. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Nicole is saying I saw some pics of Aaron there. Yeah. Yep. She sent me one that wasn't posted on Facebook. And she was, you know, I'm glad I said the prayers I did for them. And they let me know, Aaron let me know when they were on their way home. And, the auntie in me, proud of them, really, for taking a stand. They said their prayers. And then they put action behind those prayers. And they went, right? So anyway, they're on the way home. They're telling me about it and typing. Nobody ever calls anybody anymore. It was a messenger message. And I just asked them to please smudge before you go to bed. You have to get that ick off from you. You can't go to bed with that, surrounded by that. And it was like, yes, ma'am. Yeah. So Nicole is saying, a friend of mine was on TV for protesting inside the rally. His sign got ripped away from him and he did his Jedi move of taking out another one from under his shirt. Well, he went prepared. That guy went prepared. Good for him. Yay. Hey, Minnie Kansman's in the house. Minnie, we were just talking. We got this card today. It's the talking stick. And we're and the essence of the card and how we use it today in the moment as the energy for today is to be able to have, whether it's a one-on-one conversation or in a group, is to maybe be the witness of how the energy is exchanged. If you're an active participant, to employ, to use the essence of the talking stick, where you're listening holistically with all of your senses, and then and maybe even having to explain it to the other person or the other people, to be able to really be heard. Jamie Sam's poem for the talking stick. Here we go. She says, the talking stick remind me of each sacred point of view, complete within the circle of the sacred hoop. So everyone has a sacred point of view. The two-leggeds, the four-leggeds, those who swim, those who fly, those who crawl. Yeah, all things green, all bodies of water. The stone people, the devas and the elementals. They all have a sacred point of view because we're all related. We're all connected. And so when we stop and listen, really listen, we might learn a little bit of wisdom that we didn't know before, right? Yeah. So I'm so glad you guys were with me this morning. Thank you so much. We're going to try, somebody keeps texting me. We're going to try something here. Now, as Elise would say, this is Neshi's non-show because I haven't done any promotion for it really, because it's not really a show. It's our time together in the morning. Teresa Girardi, a good friend of mine, one of my sisters, reminded me that it's like we used to do spiritual roundtables when I lived in Poinet, and this is kind of like the cyber version of the spiritual roundtable. Yeah. So we have this conversation. I know that you have to type. I get to read what you type. Hey, Margaret's in the house too. Hi, Margaret. Good morning. And so maybe to help spread the word a bit, if you wouldn't mind sharing it, even to one other person, a friend of yours who you think may enjoy being a part of a spiritual conversation. Just to share it with one person. You don't have to share it to your whole timeline if you don't want to. Just with one. Share the link with her or him, and let them know that we're meeting here in the mornings, and they can be a part of the spiritual conversation if they choose, right? Right. So let's give that a chance. Let's see what happens with that. If you wouldn't mind doing that. And I will do the same. I will take and share the link to the recorded show. See, calling it a show. It's not a show. Elise, I still haven't figured it out. Now, not Margaret, I'm sorry, I saw that your name was Margaret. Stephanie, you had sent me something. I get so many messages. I'm trying to remember. Daily card draw and spiritual something. If you're still in the house, Stephanie, if you could put that in the comments, I would appreciate it. So I can kind of refresh my memory. But anyway, I thank you, Miigwech. That's thank you in Potawatomi. And we'll do this again tomorrow. Tomorrow's card draw. And so Bama Mina, Potawatomi 4, until we see each other again. Have a good rest of your day. A good Thursday, and happy solstice, right? Happy solstice. We'll see you tomorrow.